Hello again everyone. A while ago Engwe sent me this P275ST e-bike to try out. Now to be honest, it was a little while ago that they sent it. It's been sitting in the shed here waiting for me to get around to review it. I've been waiting for some reasonable weather. When I received it was just the start of a period of absolutely terrible weather really for riding around and trying this out, but it's a reasonable day today, so we're going to give it a go. Now this bike is a road bike primarily. It's more of a touring or city bike, so therefore it's got no suspension on the front forks or in the rear frame, but it does have an air seat post which should help smooth out any larger bumps. Now we've been sent the step-through version. They do a full sort of man's frame version with a crossbar as well. It's got a slightly different motor on it. It's a slightly different bike, but it's still a P275. Now I did request the step-through version because I was rather hoping it would be suitable for Nikki to use, but unfortunately the seat does not go low enough for Nikki to be able to get on it and still reach the floor, so I'm going to give it a go myself. So that's worth taking into account if you're considering this bike and you are a person of smaller stature. The minimum seat height is 92 centimeters, which is actually quite high. The maximum seat height is 98 centimeters, which I think would probably accommodate even the tallest person. So unfortunately I don't think this is a bike for the smaller person. And the most important thing is this is a fully UK legal bike. The motor is rated at 250 watts and it will stop assisting you at 15.5 miles per hour, and there is no separate independent throttle on the handlebars here, so fully UK legal. Now I've got a mid-drive motor on this bike. The motor is on the crank rather than in the hub of the wheel, and it's providing 70 Newton meters of torque, and it operates on a torque sensor. Now the big advantage of this type of setup is that it should feel a lot more like traditional cycling, rather than the motor banging straight in and out as you pedal, because it's on an ordinary sort of hall sense that senses just that you're rotating the pedals and then brings the motor in. This works and it senses the amount of torque that you're putting through the pedals and puts in the power appropriately. So it should feel a lot more like ordinary cycling, just with extra powerful legs, rather than riding an ordinary cycle with a motor attached. It's got hydraulic disc brakes front and rear, which are a massive boon on an e-bike. You've got a little bit of extra power with the motor, so you want a little bit of extra stopping power, and the bikes that I've had with hydraulic disc brakes are far superior in that respect really to bikes with cable brakes. The battery is a 36 volt 19.2 amp hour unit, and that's housed in this sort of inclined tube here. There's a little flap on the back where you can access the charging port and the lock to take the battery in and out, so you can charge it in the bike or you can unlock it and take it out and charge it in the house. And I've had this on charge and we've now got a fully charged battery. The wheels are 27.5 inch and they've got these sort of fairly chunky tyres on. They're not fat tyres like the fat tyre bikes we've reviewed, so that's a good thing, because that means they will fit in the cycle carrier on the back of our motorhome, whereas the fat tyre bikes, we did struggle in that respect. Now, like all the Engwe bikes we've reviewed so far, the frame is aluminium alloy, and it has got this sort of nice white matte powder coated, I think it is, finish on it. Now because it's a matte finish, we have found that when you're sort of strapping it to the carrier on the back of the motorhome, there is a slight chance of marking this finish. It does tend to mark a little bit easier than I think a traditional gloss paint finish does, so that's something to be a little bit cautious of. I found all I do is wrap a rag round when I clamp the bike on, but Just be aware of that if you are mounting these to a frame with any sort of clamps. There's 9-speed Shimano Altus derailleur gears, and we've got this nice derailleur protector fitted. So yeah, it's a pretty standard sort of rear derailleur setup for a mid-drive bike, but should work well, I think. The bike comes with this rear carrier, which has a load rating of 25 kilos, and Engwe do sell a nice sort of carrier bag as a sort of accessory for mounting on top there. You could also mount panniers as well, I think, which would make this a very practical sort of touring bike. The overall weight capacity is 100 kilos, so that should account for most users, I would have thought. Mounted in the frame are these two front headlights. Now, it says in the book they're nice, powerful headlights. I'm looking forward to trying them out and seeing how good they really are. But it only comes with a little tiny clip-on light that goes in the rear of the saddle. It's a Cell Royal saddle, and it's the little light that they supply that just clips in the back. And yeah, that's a little bit of a weak effort, I think. If I was going to be commuting or riding this bike seriously at night, I think I'd look to upgrade to a slightly better rear light. One question I have been asked a few times about these e-bikes is that, are they all-weather devices? Can you commute on them through the winter, through the howling wind and the lashing rain and the driving sleet? And the answer is invariably yes. This bike has an IPX6 waterproof rating. Now that's a recognised standard. That essentially is the highest standard that's non-immersion. So you can't ride the bike underwater, but the bike has withstood in tests high pressure water jets from all directions. It has to survive 3 minutes with high pressure jets playing on it at least 100 litres per minute. So it's a fairly demanding waterproofing criteria that I guess you're unlikely to exceed on a sort of touring commuting bike. You could be caught in a thunderstorm, of course. I've certainly been riding some of my other e-bikes backwards and forwards to work and been caught in pretty heavy rain, and there's really been no detrimental effect. Eventually the Impulse 2 motor on the Kalkoff bike I had did succumb to water ingress, but that was after about 5,000 miles, and I'm not sure what the rating was on that, but that was a much older motor. You're talking about sort of 15-year-old technology there, and this is a much more modern motor, so I'd expect a little bit more from it in terms of weatherproofing. Now let's talk about range. Engwe advertised this bike as capable of up to 260 kilometers on a single charge. Now when you read into the literature a little bit deeper, that's 260 kilometers on power assistance setting 1. So that's the lowest setting, and I'm not sure what the test conditions would have been on that, but I'm assuming it's probably fairly level flat roads in reasonable weather conditions. But they do also give a figure of 150 kilometers at power assistance level 5. So that's quite impressive. This bike, on paper at least, has a very impressive range. Now, I'm not sure if we'll get to test the full range in this video, but I'm certainly looking forward to perhaps in the future giving this a proper range test and seeing if we can come close to those figures, because if they're genuine, then this makes this a realistic prospect for sort of e-bike touring. Something I've always wondered about. You could sort of head off on a sort of multi-day trip, perhaps with some camping gear or staying at bed and breakfast or something. As long as you've got access to a charging point on a campsite or whatever, then you could realistically have a nice little holiday on this perhaps, which is something I think you'd find difficult on other e-bikes. You'd run out of battery fairly early in the day, and yeah, be pedalling effectively a very heavy ordinary bike. And of course for commuting it means that you don't have to charge every day. You could perhaps, you know, only charge once a week, just put the battery on charge at the weekend if you had a reasonably short commute. For instance, my commute is sort of 15 miles there and back, so that should easily be doable for 5 days before you have to recharge the battery. And again, that's something I'm perhaps looking forward to testing out on a future video. Yeah, very impressive range figures on this bike. Right, let's have a little look at the controller. Now you turn it on with the little button on the side, and yeah, you get fairly sort of basic information up. We're currently in eco mode, so if I turn it, you can have power assistance off, you can have eco mode, you can have tour mode, you can have sport mode, turbo mode, or boost mode. Yeah, so yeah, you've got all these, I think there's the 5 different modes that you can have it in. Boost mode sounds exciting, doesn't it? Yeah, we'll have to try that out. You've also got the switch here to turn the lights on and off. And you've got an information button on the side here, which takes you through a little cycle. So, I mean, I've never ridden this bike, but apparently it's already up to 0.7 kilometers on the trip meter. Perhaps that's factory testing. You've got 3 seconds of time. That must be the time run. Average of 14 kilometers per hour. Your max speed achieved. So yeah, they've wound that up, haven't they? 28.6 kilometers per hour. That's the maximum power, 0 watts. I guess these are all resettable, I think, so you can sort of gather the data for your particular trip. That must be peak power, perhaps. Goodness knows what that is. If you know, drop me a comment. Yeah, all sorts of technical information. How much range? Presume that might be range that you've got left, I guess. It says 0 kilometers. Not sure about that. Well, we'll perhaps have a look at that as we ride. Yeah, so you've got all these little... We're back to the trip again. So, yeah, if you're interested in that sort of thing, then you've got that information available to you. Me, I'm not so interested in all this. I just want to ride it. And of course, as required by law, you've got your bell. Ooh, I like that. Nice bell. Well, on the road, I'm trying out the lower settings first. I'm finding the power is delivered very smoothly. And there's plenty of puddles around, and the mudguards is doing a great job of protecting me from any splashing. Now, I'm usually the sort of person that just rides these e-bikes with the power set right up to the maximum all the time, but I'm finding that the tour setting is actually really pleasant to cycle along on this on the road. Now, if you're interested in getting one of these bikes for yourself, we have an affiliate link that you can buy one through. It's on the screen here, and I'll also put it in the description of the video. Now, it's not a very sporty seating position on this bike. You are quite upright, but it's very comfortable. I can see you could easily cover long distances on this bike, which is handy given the range claims. And yeah, I'm looking forward to taking this on a much longer ride soon. Impressed with this bike. It's lovely smooth power delivery and sort of nice stable presence on the road. The large frame, the large wheels, they're not fat tyres but still quite chunky tyres, really sort of suit the type of cycling that we do, which is not particularly hard off-road cycling. We do go on tracks sometimes that aren't surfaced, but this bike is more than capable of that. And of course Nikki has a small wheeled front wheel drive bike, so it's certainly capable of doing anything that Nikki's bike is capable of doing. So I think we'll be taking this away on a motorhome trip very soon, so look out for that. And yeah, we'll see you again very soon in our next video.